quantity part. Sugar தூக்குங்க.
Okay.
சுகரே சாப்பிடக்கூடாது. சுகரே சாப்பிடக்கூடாது.
Hi, Gopal, can you hear me? Am I audible to you?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Right. Okay. So today, before we enter into administration part of SQL Server, first let me give you some brief idea on SQL Server. And after that, we'll get into SQL Server administration part.
Okay.
So this is an assumption to a point that you are aware of SQL Server. We are going with this introduction. Okay. So introduction to SQL Server. Now, very first point that I would say that SQL Server is a product of Microsoft introduced in the year 1989 as SQL Server 1.0. That is one point. Towards, you can say, a kind of, introduction year, by whom, whose product it is, and what was the version. And now remember, using SQL Server, we are going to do two activities. One, we can create and manage databases. That is one point. And second is SQL Server even supports something called BI features. Yeah, that's something related with business intelligence. Yeah, that includes SSIS, SSRS, SSIS. Three things. Okay. Now, going forward on this, now what you study is, since we know that SQL Server is RDBMS. Okay. And remember, every RDBMS is a collection of two parts. One, SQL that is called as non-procedural. Yeah, this is one part. And second is what you call T-SQL, that is procedural part. In general, I would say this T-SQL deals with programming. I once again repeat, we are coming up with some brief overview towards introduction of SQL Server. Just to quick wrap up to understand what fundamental points related with SQL Server. Okay. Now, going forward on this, now we understand the next point, that which you call as SQL Server supports SQL language. It supports which language? SQL. And towards SQL, a lot of things are there. Like, SQL consists of various sub-languages. Like it deals with something called DML, DDL, TCL, DQL. Right? These all are part of SQL. I'm not going into those discussions now. That will be a requirement of a developer. So for DBA, you should have knowledge on that. That is different. But I'm not going to talk on all that stuff now. That is
Sorry
Yes.
to interrupt, Ahmed.
Yes, go ahead.
Only one clarification. What is the TSQL and SQL, the non-procedural? What is the difference in a high level, not in detail, just in a high level?
Fine. So you can just say, like, here, SQL is called non-procedural, which means SQL works with respect to accessing data in a something, you can say, like not in any sequence. It doesn't go with any particular process to follow to deal with data access. It doesn't have any rule that when you create a data, compulsory you should go with modification, compulsory you should go with removing, then only you should go with the accessing. There is no such point. Randomly, you can do any operations on your data is what you call non-procedural. Something easy to say that doesn't deal with coding. Procedural, when I say T-SQL, that is actually called transact SQL. That T-SQL deals with programming that needs systematic approach. And that systematic approach is whenever you write a program that needs an input, that input needs process, and that process needs output. That is what you mean to say a procedural process.
Yeah, that means creating a procedure, functions, triggers,
exactly.
packages, those kind of things.
Yeah,
Okay.
actually in T-SQL, Microsoft has made two types of coding process. Yeah, because you asked me, just I'll give you some brief idea on that as well. One type of programming they call as anonymous block programming, or you can call as nameless block. Or this nameless block also called unnamed blocks. Anything is fine.
Okay.
Unnamed block. It means this code is stored in buffer. Code is stored in buffer. And second type you have that is called stored blocks, or you can call named blocks. And here you say code is stored in database. Code is stored in database. And in this anonymous block, we have all these things to learn. Basic programming. Then we have something to learn about exception handling. Then we have something to learn about cursors. Under stored block programming, we have all these things to learn. Stored procedures, stored functions, stored triggers. Those things are a part of it. This is what the detailed discussion goes about T-SQL. Did you get that?
Yeah. Thank you.
No. Now, okay, this is just to give you an idea I wrote, but not needed for us. Okay.
Okay.
And one more.
Sure.
Thing. Yeah. And one more thing. Yeah. Even in this also, I'll give you an idea. Let me just talk on that so that you'll have a clear picture on even a SQL. You know, even in SQL, Microsoft has made two parts in this, right? One, SQL sublanguages, one part, and second, they call SQL objects, two parts. And when I say sublanguages, these are part of it. DQL, DML, TCL, DDL, DCL. And SQL objects, when I say here, tables, constraints, synonyms, sequences, indices. Yeah, these things are part of what? Yeah, SQL objects. Tables, constraints, synonyms, sequences, indices, views. These all comes under SQL objects. That is what we have. Things to elaborate for SQL and T-SQL.
Okay. One quick clarification.
Yeah, go for it.
DQL and I know DML, DDL. What is the DQL and the TCL?
Select command. Writing select command.
Data query language, DQL?
Yeah, exactly. You actually refer by two names, DQL, DRL. Data query or retrieval language.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
DML is data manipulation. TCL, transaction control. And transaction control language, developer will have a just overview kind of thing. Like he won't have any idea on internal working of a transaction. But as a DBA, transaction will play a major role as an administrator to know in depth of how a transaction works. And along with the transactions, you should be very clear on working of asset properties and a lot of other things we have. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, please.
Transaction control language, the database control language, DCL.
Data control language.
Okay, gotcha.
Data control. Yeah, we are going to have this DCL part quite very much important to learn in what do you call our administration part in a module called security. There I'll cover DCL.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, going forward, when you call SQL Server supports SQL language, and another important thing is SQL is a IBM product. It means IBM has developed SQL language, and then these all companies have approached IBM. These all companies approached IBM. These all companies approached IBM, like Microsoft approached, Oracle Corporation approached, no, like Sun Microsystems. They all approached IBM. They purchased rights from IBM so that they can use IBM's developed SQL language in their products. That is how the story goes on the product of IBM. And one more thing I would say that already I mentioned, SQL is a non-procedural language. SQL is a non-procedural language. And second thing I would say, SQL is called common database language. Why? Since it gets understood by every RDBMS. Yes. And finally, I would say SQL is case insensitive language. Yeah. And now, as a DBA, compulsory, you should know how a query is executed whenever developer hits a query to server, what sequence it follows. And now remember, we are going to discuss this as at the end of our first module, that whenever you write a query in SQL Server and whenever we execute that SQL query, remember that SQL query will undergo 10 steps. That query will undergo with 10 steps, right? And in those 10 steps, for us, as per administrator, 4 steps are important for us. So definitely we will learn. However, I'm going to elaborate quite more in detail with internal working mechanism, especially about one special server which is installed along with SQL Server, and that is what you call as database server, that which has a connection with something called database engine. And that is what you can find if you just open a tool with the software which I have right now with me. When here you can see here, can you see server type database engine? So we are going to learn quite more in detail about this database engine. Yeah. And one more thing. How do you find that working to SQL Server database works? You can say simply like, whenever a user or application, okay, makes a communication with SQL Server, and this will make communication with database, two-way process. User will communicate with SQL Server will communicate with database, and database will return something back to SQL Server returns back to user. Yeah, this is a kind of overview connecting with the SQL Server. Okay. Now, yes, yes.
So sorry to interrupt.
No problem. Go ahead. No issue. You're welcome.
So this course is for database administration.
Yes.
And you teach for on-prem as well as cloud also, or how?
No, cloud-related things I won't be covering in our course content. Actually, I have designed one course content for this. You can just collect that from management and you can see if something apart from what I'm covering, if you feel that you have basically looking forward from my session, just update me regarding it. Let's look into that point as well. No issues from my end.
Okay. Can I talk with you after this demo?
Sure. No problem. Yeah, I'll wait.
Okay.
Yes, no problem. Yes.
Okay. And how do you doing it to Notepad? This the special character. The earlier also. How are you getting the user application after that? The earlier also your. Getting some special character, I saw.
These all things through ASCII codes I'm doing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, some built-in codes are there. So I'm trying to use those codes to get it done.
Okay.
Hmm.
Okay. Because I'm very much interested, Ahmed. Yeah. Okay. Sorry.
Sure,
The
no
more
problem.
people are there. You can continue. Hereafter I will slow down. I will not.
No problem, no problem. No issues, no issues. Yeah. Now, going forward on this, this is a kind of what I said, an overview towards SQL Server, introduction. Now, remember one more thing, and the point is SQL Server provides, remember, two types of environments. Yeah. One is called standalone environment, and second is called clustering environment. Yeah, two things. Standalone environment and a clustering environment. And when it comes to standalone environment, here I'll try to come up with some brief, idea. Instead of making theoretical points and creating a sort of confusion, I just make some important points first, and rest all I'll try to explain through a small example, so that you can understand how standalone environment is going to work for us, right? Refer to .png file. Okay. And remember here, standalone environment is helpful for small companies. Remember that. Why it is available only for small companies? Reason I'm writing. Because, and it has only one production server. That is the reason. Only one production. Whereas in clustering environment is helpful for large companies, and it has more than one production server. Yes, that is the difference that you would find between standalone and clustering. That is one point. Second point, I would say, in standalone environment, all users are connected to a single server, whereas in clustering environment, group of servers will be made available with a common name and common IP address. Yes, that is one more point. And the third point that I would say, especially related to clustering environment, for a clustering environment, what you study is in SQL Server 2008, Microsoft has limited to 16 nodes. 16 nodes. And then what happened? And from SQL Server 2012, right? And later releases, there is no limit. You can have n number of servers or n number of nodes. This is kind of overview and plus introductory points to give you some simple idea on to how this standalone and clustering environment works.
The clustering is an active cluster or active standby?
No, I'm not talking about all that stuff now, because that is a different discussion. When you go to the topic, I'll explain you. However, we are going to cover this in high availability features. In that, when replication, lock shipping, mirroring, clustering, when I talk always on, when I discuss them at that time, I'll explain you all the different scenarios on clustering.
Okay, sure.
Right. And now, going forward on this, now remember what actually the process will be. For example, this is a scenario I'm creating so that you can understand how actually the process will carry out for a standalone environment. Okay. assume the situation is like this. This is one website. Okay. Yeah. So assume this is one website. I said website. Okay. Or web application, anything you can say. Let me call this as website. Yeah. Obviously, when I'm saying website, it will be handled by web developers. Okay. So that developers, I'll name them like this. Application team. Yeah. This is one team who is taking care of this website. Okay. And this website has these web pages. This is one web page. 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 You know, these are all web pages. Where this is being hosted, it is being hosted on one server. Let's call IIS server. Yeah. And this is assume a shopping portal. You assume in that way. This is one shopping portal. And this shopping portal is being accessed by one end user. It's like you and me, like assume we are working on this, website. So let's call this as end user. End user. And this end user is trying to work on this website and is going through all these web pages. And through this website, he is going to place some orders. Yeah. And these orders 100% should be recorded. Okay. So for that, we make SQL Server software available. Yes. This is your SQL Server software. Yes, let me call that. Here I call SQL Server. This is something called RDBMS. This is also you refer backend. These are different name. Yeah, but as of now, I'll just write SQL Server and RDBMS. Two names I'll give. SQL Server and this is RDBMS. Okay, so it means this website has a connection with this SQL Server software. Means whatever this end user browses from this website, from this shopping portal, whatever the products he visits, whatever the products he orders, all that information will be captured or will be recorded in his database. Yes. So obviously, I would create one database as well here. Okay. So let's assume this is your database. Yes. Yeah, this is your database. Yeah. This is your database. Inside database, you have a block. You have a block. And that block internal contains some information. Let's call products. It is one table, products table. Whatever the products that customer, that end user will do, he places an order, all that information will be captured in this products table. Okay. Database, I'll call SalesDB. SalesDB. And you have something called schema. Inside the schema name I'll write as DBO. And then you have a table. Yeah, mention all these things. This is your database. And this is your schema by name DBO. And this is your prods as table inside a schema. Okay. And remember, the only language that can communicate to database, whether it is to store or it is to get data, in both the cases, whether it is to store the data or it is to get the data. Yeah. And what is that language? SQL. No language will have a point to access database. Only language that can communicate with database is SQL. Okay. Now, if end user goes with, and how many servers here? Obviously, only one SQL server I have. Only one SQL server I have. Then if you have one SQL server, then you'll have only one database available. One SQL server, then you'll have only one database. Yes. Okay. And next you listen. For example, this is what I mean to say, that stand-alone environment. Yeah, standalone environment. Okay, now listen what is happening. For example, assume this end user has purchased. So he's working on our website now. He's working on the website. So any shopping portal. So that website, whose website he's working, so that person for us is like client now. For us, he is a client. Okay. Now listen what happens. For example, end user goes to this website, access different web pages to look into categories of the products specific to a product, number of quantity, even he makes category of the product, quantity of the product, then he will order some number of products, and after that he'll make payment. All his information is recorded there. Okay, again he visits, again he orders, so every information is being recorded there. Imagine a situation after half an hour till 30 minutes, story is fine. He ordered around 5-6 products, all information has been recorded in database. Now listen what is actually happening. For example, after 30 minutes, something happened in the backend, that server is not working, database is not accepting any information, something happened there, and end user obviously will be unaware of what is happening in the backend. He'll be comfortable only with the front end. Only front end. He is not bothered about what is happening in the backend. So definitely now he will be little confused, like since half an hour, that's 5 to 6 products he ordered, he made payment, all were going fine. After 30 minutes, now when he's trying to place an order for one more product, that is not being accepted. Then definitely he'll be wondering what exactly happened, why is it not working. So but he's not aware that something happened in the backend and database is not working. Okay, then what will happen? Then he'll try for some product, but he's trying. And imagine if already 6 products he ordered. Now he's still going with some more. But now if database is not responding, then it will be a loss to the business. That is the reason this situation may arise. It is always recommended to have a support of one standby server. Yes. Always recommended to have a support of one standby server. Yes. You understand what I'm saying? Like, what is the approach we have? Yes. Now you can see. Yes, you got. Now, what is this server called? Let's call like this. This server is primary. And the other one is standby. Yes. Or you can call one more. Principal. And this one you can call as mirror. Yeah. These are the names that I would give for the servers. Yes. Little top and top. Yeah. Now give the names. This is principal or primary server. And this is standby or mirror server. Okay. And indirectly, this is also connected to this server as well. Yes. Yes, this is connected to even standby as well. Standby. Yes. Now what happens? Okay, let's understand that also. Yeah, link this. This website has even a support of, or it has a support to even standby server. Yes. 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 And this is like standby, I'm saying. So I'll just break and create a link like. Yeah, this is the connection. Okay. And how these two are linked? How these two, this primary and standby, how are they linked? These two are linked with a support of, I'll just write the names. One, mirroring. It is configured with mirroring, or it is configured with lock shipping. Yeah, two things. Yeah. So using that, you made one as primary, one as mirror server. That is the reason whatever information recorded in this primary server, parallelly its copy is maintained in standby server. Whatever is being recorded in primary, parallelly I'm saying the same information is being recorded in standby server. You can say that this standby server is a clone of the principal database or primary database. Yes. You understand? And one more interesting thing is, for example, if this server, this one, I mean, if primary server is failed, if primary server is failed, okay, something happened and this got failed. This got failed. Yes, the moment this server is failed, remember, this is failed. Yeah, this is failed. Automatically, remember, standby becomes primary. That is what you call failover. Failover. If primary is failed, automatically it should switch over to standby server. Okay. This process will happen. Assume it is like this. From morning 9 o'clock till 6 o'clock, I was at office. Everything was going fine. I left office at 6 o'clock. And after that, the evening team has come. After there, I left the office. Now, after me going, some problem has occurred. That primary server got failed. So even though I'm not at office as a DBA, I should be informed about that issue. And definitely, cross point is, if the evening shift people are not good enough to explain what issue has been occurred, it is instead depending on them. You create a process in such a way that you will be provided with the information quite very clearly about the failure. Okay. So for that, what I would do, I would install one software you can call as ticketing tool. Yes. Ticketing tool. Yes. I'll install this. Yeah. And here I just draw for a reference. I'm drawing here. So DBA, not at office now. Yeah. Yeah. It is DBA. And what am I saying is DBA is not at office asset. Okay, just for reference, I'm saying. So he's DBA. So let's mention database administrator, not at office. Yeah, he already left. After that, this issue has come. And what are the ticketing tools? Lot of tools are there. Let me just write few of them. One tool is there. One tool. It's called BMC Remedy. Yeah. One more tool is there by name called Kayako. Like that list is there. Yeah. These tools I have installed. And what will happen? Whenever server gets failed, this primary server is failed, immediate what happens? It is going to, this primary server is going to send, primary server I'm saying, is going to send DB mail. What do you call? Database mail. DB mail. And that DB mail will be sent to DBA. That mail will be sent to owner of that shopping portal, client, and DB mail will be sent to application team so that they can become active. And in the DB mail, it is also mentioned that what type of issue it is, level of issue. Like if it is critical, instant you react and rectify the problem. If it is minor problem, which can be delayed or which can be resolved after some time, then no problem. If it is critical issue, instant you have to react, try to resolve the problem. And now, whenever this primary server is failed, automatic control will go to standby server, mirror server, and mirror server becomes our primary server. That process will happen in the background. End user will be unaware of that point. And since you have only one production server, always it is recommended that try to resolve this problem immediately before that standby server gets into, before it goes to, before it is failed, you try to resolve that point. So that again, that primary, which was actually failed, can become, once problem is resolved, it may become as usual, what? Standby for us. And whenever this standby, which has become primary, if it is failed, again, the first server again may become what? Primary server. That will happen always. Switch over, or you can call failover. And now remember, in this total scenario, what I would say as a DBA, in this total scenario, especially this point, I'll say, this point. Yeah, this point is what I refer backend. And backend part, I would mention your efforts are only 30%. 30%. And this process, website maintenance, end user process, looking into connectivity, this is your front end. and front-end work is 70%. See the efforts. Efforts of DBA, 30%. Efforts of front-end, 70%. Why? Because daily you don't do mirroring, daily you don't do lock shipping, daily you don't install software, daily you don't create database. It's like one time we do. Obviously, one time is lengthy, but that once created, it becomes fixed. In that only issues will arise. That only you try to learn properly of how to resolve them. This is the standalone environment process. You have anything to ask me, go ahead. Yeah, Anil Kumar, you have anything to ask me? Anil Kumar M. Am I audible to you?
Hello, Ahmed.
Yeah.
Yeah, so sorry, I was working. I did not.
Okay, no problem.
So can you share the demo? Then I have to replay and.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, sorry about that.
No problem.
I was hearing you were talking, but at the same time, there was an issue. I was working, so
Okay,
it's
no
not.
problem. Roles of database administrator. This I'll take up in tomorrow's class. Yeah, detail I'll explain about. Yeah.
You have a very good